thanks to Iconic Offices for having me here. I'm talking today on exercise, and I'm a passionate exerciser. I have some slides to share with you, talking about the benefits of exercise and talking about how we can get the most bang for the buck when it comes to our exercise. But do feel free to ask questions. There's a chat box there, or put your hand up and come on. I want to make sure you get what you want from the session today. So do be interactive and ask anything you have or you want to know more about. So I suppose, who am I? I'm probably new to some of you. I'm been involved in health and fitness for the last 30 years. My primary degree is in exercise science, and I went on then to study health promotion, and then went on to study health psychology, so understanding health behaviour, why I suppose we know what we should be doing, but often there's a gap between that and what we actually do. I'm also a personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach as well. So fitness is my passion. It's what I love to do, and spend any bit of free time I have doing, everything from Ironman, triathlons, to all kinds of things, anything really that involves moving in the outdoors, that you'll find me there. And I suppose I set myself challenges then every year, kind of 1 or 2 or 3 even challenges. And so I've kind of cycled from one end of Ireland to the other, swum around Garnish Island twice, done ultra marathons, run up down Carrauntoohil, that kind of crazy stuff. So that's me, and I suppose my interest in exercise. And as I said, I was grew up in a sporting family. I guess I was quite fortunate that way. So it's always been what I know, and it's definitely been something that has helped me. Particularly over the last few years, having my exercise, my sanity, as I call it, has really, really helped. So there's so many benefits, and we will get into talking about that. But I suppose as a start, our bodies are designed to move. We're meant to move. We're not meant to be sitting at computers 8 hours a day. It's not how we're genetically engineered. And but unfortunately, we've kind of factored a movement out of our daily lives. We pretty much could be sitting at home all day, as some of us were during lockdown, and where you can order everything online, you can order your food online. You really don't have to move necessarily from your office if you didn't want to. So it's more of an effort to exercise. Our environment is engineered for us to be inactive. So even when we have a healthy option, we tend to take the less healthy one. And even when we do exercise, it's become very much a segmented part of our day. It's that 30 minutes or that 40 minutes or that hour or whatever it might be that we exercise. So even here, I think this is quite comical, even when they're going into exercise, they're taking the elevator up. So it's not something that we have kind of integrated into our day, which is what we need to do to be kind of try to get some activity in throughout the day. So, as I said, we've gotten it wrong, but we're trying to change it and trying to, I suppose, to create awareness around the benefits of being active. And I suppose if you look at the stats that are out there in terms of health and what are some of the biggest issues in relation to death and dying, you can see that physical inactivity is the 4th leading cause of deaths worldwide per year. So it really is a serious issue. And when it comes to being active, what are some of the benefits? I'm sure all of you are somewhat active or have been at some point, and you can pop in the chat box there. What are some of the benefits of being active? Why are we even here today talking about exercise? So don't be shy. You can just pop in the chat box. What are some of the benefits to being active? And you can think of, benefits from a physical perspective, benefits from a mental health perspective, even from a social perspective. Yeah, Saoirse, for your mental health. And I think that's definitely the one that's increased a lot over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of increase in exercise because of the mental health benefits. So just to talk through some of them for you there. You can see mental health is there up at the top of the list. And as I said, it's one that we've all been experiencing. But all kinds of issues, really. Nearly every illness and disease can be prevented by being more active, and also physical activity can be used as a treatment for lots of illness and disease as well. You can see there asthma, high blood pressure, boosting the immune system, which is really important these days, weight loss, physical strength, which I'll talk a little bit about more later, increasing bone density, very important, particularly for women as they go into kind of pre and menopause. Joint strength and stability, particularly as we age, and reducing effects of diabetes. So really everything you can think of. Here are some of the benefits broken down more by a kind of summary of the research in terms of the stats, but basically reducing your risk of all-cause mortality by 30%, heart disease by up to 35%, diabetes by up to 40%, colon cancer by 30%, breast cancer by 20%. You see some studies even saying up to 40%. Depression by up to 30%. Exercise has been shown to be more effective for depression than many drugs for mild to moderate depression, that is. Hip fractures, dementia, all kinds of benefits really. Again, focusing on the mental health ones here. None of us go for a walk and come back and feel worse. We all feel better. And as I said, more and more focus on that. So even just to show you kind of an interesting thing that, even after 20 minutes of going for a walk, the areas in your brain that can get activated, heightened attention, faster information processing. So great if you have an important work project or an exam or anything you need to do. It's always great to get exercise in beforehand because you're going to be a lot sharper as well. So many benefits. And I love this quote. I've used this one for years. It's if only you could bottle every health benefit you get from physical activity and sell it at the pharmacy. And it's so true. If we saw a headline in the Irish Times tomorrow saying that there was this amazing new super drug that was after being discovered, and it was going to reduce your risk of heart disease, of cancer, of diabetes, of high blood pressure, of cholesterol, and so on. You think, gosh, that's, one pill can do all that. There must be some major side effects. And then you see, the side effects are you're going to sleep better, you're going to lose weight, you're going to improve social contacts, you're going to have greater mental health, and that's the reality when it comes to exercise. It's this one thing that has so many benefits. It really, really does. As it says here, to treat your high blood pressure, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, osteoporosis, take this new pill every day, take it out for a jog, then take it to the gym, then take it for the bike ride. So exercise really is an amazing drug, that's going to benefit us all, and it's free, which is the best part as well. So any questions as we go through, just pop them in the chat box. I really do want you to get what you want out of the session. So do pop any questions or comments in the chat box as we go through. So how much exercise do we need? Any guesses on that? How many minutes is, in terms of cardio exercise then, we'll break it down for you. How many minutes of exercise are recommended a day? Okay, so we have 30 minutes. Somebody doing sport 2 to 3 times a week, 40 minutes. Yeah, so you're all pretty clued in, which is great. Maybe more than 30 minutes or an hour. So yeah, you're all in around the ballpark there, which is fantastic. So what's recommended, and this is based on international best practice, but it's also the guidelines that have been adopted in Ireland. And what's recommended is 30 minutes on 5 days of the week. Okay, so that's a moderate intensity exercise. The 60 minutes, some of you mentioned that, is for children. So if any of you have children, they should be doing 60 minutes every day of the week, is what's recommended for children. Okay, so what's interesting here, and I'm going to come back to this recommendation a few times during the presentation because our kind of promise with this was that I was going to share, what's the best bang for the buck when it comes to exercise. How, we're all strapped for time. So how can you use your time most effectively to get the most health benefits that we've just spoken about from your exercise? Okay, so based on the guidelines, you're all familiar with the 30 minutes. Probably not many of you are familiar with this vigorous intensity recommendation, and that is for 25 minutes, 3 days a week, and I'm going to come back to that as well. Nor might you be very familiar with the strength training recommendation of 2 days a week. So if any of you do your strength training 2 days a week, you can pop a yes in the chat box. I'd be curious to see. Or if you're, so yeah, that's really what's recommended for best practice. I'm going to break that down a little bit more for you. So Laura, you're not alone with that. Strength training is funny because even with the Irish guidelines, even though they're based on the international best practice, they don't, it's not that they don't encourage, but they don't stress the strength training element of the guidelines. It's kind of in there, but it's in there quite subtly. And it's really the big emphasis is on cardio, which is on your moderate intensity exercise in terms of campaigns and promotional materials and so on. It's not necessarily on the strength training, which it should be. And I'm going to talk about the why of that and why we all should be including more strength training in our exercise. So in terms of reaching those guidelines, again, I could have had you guess, but to be honest, I think this number is higher than it actually is in reality, to be honest. This is based on the Healthy Ireland Survey 2000, and I think this is the 21 one. So really, normally we'd be looking about a third of the population reach that 30 minutes, and usually more men than women, as you can see here as well. But you can see even in the Healthy Ireland surveys where they, calculate percentages like this, how many of us are reaching the guidelines, they don't include the strengths. It's really how many of people are reaching the 30 minutes a day. That's what they're looking at in the surveys. They're not assessing the rest. Okay. So just to break down the recommendation a little bit more, I suppose the good news there, if you didn't know already, it's an accumulation of at least 30 minutes. So the biggest excuse I hear all the time, you can probably imagine it, and it's probably could be your reason too for not being more active. You can pop it in the chat box if you can guess what it is. So accumulation is really, really good. So you can break that down. They were saying initially into 3 bouts of 10 minutes or 10 minutes or more, but the latest research is showing that really it doesn't matter how you accumulate it once you accumulate it. So you might do 5 minutes walking the dog in the morning, or 20 minutes walk at lunch and 5 minutes dance around the kitchen or whatever in the evening. So it doesn't matter how you get that 30 minutes to which you can accumulate it. So if time, which was the answer, which none of you popped in the chat box, if time is of the issue, then it's good to know that you can break down the 30 minutes. So really, it negates that excuse in one sense. And moderate intensity, I'll talk about that in a moment, and on at least 5 days of the week. So that's minimum that we should be doing more. Or 20 minutes of vigorous activity on 3 days a week. So again, you can start to see here that if time is an issue for you, 20 minutes of vigorous activity 3 days a week, a lot less time required, a lot less days required, and you're still getting the same health benefits. So both of these are giving the equivalent health benefits that we spoke about a little while ago. Okay, so if any of this doesn't make sense, just pop in the chat box. With the moderate intensity, just to give you an explanation of what that means, it's breathing a little heavier and faster, able to carry on a conversation, feeling a slight increase in your heart rate, feeling warmer, maybe beginning to sweat. So it's kind of like a fast walk, whereas vigorous intensity would be more like a jog. Okay, so that would be kind of the easiest difference to distinguish the two. You can see some examples here, walking, gardening, hiking, that's all moderate intensity. So it's kind of what you can only do at lunchtime at work and not have to come back and have a shower to do the rest of your work. That's kind of moderate intensity. Whereas vigorous intensity would be breaking sweat and would be much more vigorous, as the word would say. So that's breaking that recommendation down. And then the strength recommendation down, which again, not many people are familiar with. What's recommended here is strength training a minimum of 2 days. And again, it's a minimum. And you're doing 8 to 12 reps. So a rep is, just doing, say, a bicep curl, you'll be doing it, 8 times. That's a rep, repeating each one, 8 repetitions. And then 8 to 10 different exercises that target all the major muscle groups. So, from your quads to your, your biceps, your triceps, your back muscles, and so on. So you're doing kind of a full body workout. And it can be used in body weight. You could, do squats, lunges, things like that with body weight. It could be used in resistance bands and free weights like dumbbells, kettlebells, weight machines, anything at all really where you have a resistance that you're pulling or pushing against. So that's your strength training. So also what they've shown is that even if you get that 30 minutes of your moderate exercise, or you get your strength training in, if you're sedentary the rest of the day, you can actually negate some of the benefits you're getting. So the message really that's coming through the research now is that we just need to be as active as we can, look for opportunities to be active. When, as you saw in my earlier slide, this tends to be the opposite. We tend to, drive around the car park looking for the closest spot to the front of the shop, or, drive to the parking spot that's going to be closest to where we go. So it's very freeing if you can let that go and just look for opportunities to run up and down the stairs, or to do whatever you need to do, go to the water cooler a few times, and, just use opportunities to be active throughout your day is ideally what you should be doing in addition to the recommendations. And I don't know if any of you have standing desks, or if I kind of have them in their workplaces, but again, showing that you can actually increase energy expenditure by up to a third when you're standing rather than sitting, you know, taking your calls or your meetings. So it doesn't have to be continually standing, but even getting the habit of kind of standing when you're on the phone or at certain points or times, just to break up the fully sedentary sitting part of your day. So something to keep in mind as well if you're not doing that already. So any questions so far? We're very shy today. So that pre-lunch slot, is that what it is? So please do ask questions, anything at all. I'm very open to whatever you might want to ask. So what I'm going to talk about now is what's the most, so just before I go into that, then Rebecca's just asked you to be aiming for 10,000 steps a day. That's somewhat equivalent to the half an hour. The half an hour is best practice. The 10,000 steps came out as more of a campaign that was an easy message to pass on to people. But to be honest, it has pluses and minuses. It's good in that you will definitely get your half hour if you're doing 10,000 steps. Usually 10,000 steps takes more than a half an hour. But what I like about the steps is really emphasizes the accumulation of activity. So it really helps, you know, if you're not going for your dedicated half hour, it does remind you to try and be active as often as you can. So it does have a lot of benefits that way. I think it's great for kids. I have a teenage daughter now who's at that kind of point of, you know, where they all start to drop out of activity. So I actually got her a Fitbit for Christmas to track her steps, but she's not going to go out for a 30-minute run at the moment. She's not just in that headspace, but you know, she is aware now that she needs to try and reach that. So it can work for some people, but it really is whatever works for you. It does encourage accumulation, but you'll see as I talk to today anyway, hopefully it'll become clear in terms of what you should be aiming for more specifically than perhaps just the 10,000 steps, Rebecca. So hopefully that answers that for you. So I suppose when it comes to exercise, you know, I've talked about the benefits a little bit at the beginning, and you know, we all know it's good for us, and it's so good for us, and we all know we should be doing more, but we don't always necessarily do more. And I mentioned this already, so if you're listening, you know the answer to this, you can pop it in the chat box. What's the most common excuse when it comes to why people don't do more exercise? And there's quite a few of them, but there's one that always stands out. Any guesses? Yeah. Yep. Time it is, and I'm sure it probably is for you too. And so that's why I want to break this down and to give you the most effective kind of workout that you could be doing, so you have a good sense of that when you leave here today. Lazy is another one, but you know, lazy, it really comes down to priorities, and that's what it comes back to when it's time as well. Any guesses how many minutes we have in a day? We know we need 30 for exercise, don't we? And we actually have 1,440 minutes in a day. So really, for me, when it comes to time, and look, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, busy working mom, a lot of time goes into my fitness, and a busy lifestyle. So it really is what are your priorities? And if exercise is a priority, you'll find the time. And that really is what I do with people who, when they really say they have no time, you know, is have them do a time study, and it's really, really interesting. And sometimes you can have somebody, you know, sitting down to watch the news at 9 o'clock, and before they know it, it's the weather forecast on the 9 o'clock news, you know what I mean? And they've gone through Coronation Street and Fair City and all the other ones that are on. So quite often it's not time, it's our perception is that it's time, but when you break it down, it's just that we're not prioritizing it. So we can all kind of find 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you know, 5 minutes there. And when we do break it down, so it's, do you prioritize it? And I suppose what you're saying there, Jenny, is not necessarily, I think maybe that somebody's lazy, but it's just, it's not a priority for them. And if it is, you'll find the time. And another issue with time, that's not true, Simona. Really, that traditionally it was that we had to do our 30 minutes. I mean, the recommendations have changed over the years. I mean, it used to be 50 to 70% of your VO2 max, and you know, it used to be quite scientific, and it's changed over time. And really, for health benefits, they found that 30 minutes it really is just about incorporating activity into your day, at least 30 minutes on at least 5 days of the week. And that's the minimum, and that's for your health benefits. So it doesn't need to be 40 minutes in a single session. That would have been old school. So now that's what the international recommendations are that are adopted in all various different countries. So it would have been definitely the old way of thinking about it. And it depends as well. I suppose I'm talking about health benefits here. It depends on your fitness goals. If it's weight loss is your goal, if it's training for a particular triathlon or something, you'll have different fitness goals. But this is for the general population, for general health, and this is what we're talking about here. So it is the time issue, as we've clarified there. So as I said, it is about prioritizing it. What fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 30 minutes a day or being dead 24 hours a day. So I know that's kind of a bit strong, but it is, in a sense, an investment in our health when we give ourselves that time to exercise. It really, really is. So I mentioned all the benefits. There's so many of them that, in terms of taking care of ourselves and taking care of our, and having, being able to live more fully, I find, because I enjoy my exercise, and it gives me more energy to live through the rest of my day more fully because I'm energized. I do most of my exercise in the morning, and it's what I would recommend to clients too. Because nothing can get in the way. You just wake up, I get my clothes out the night before and put them on. So it's there's no decision making there. The more you can take decision making out of plans, the less you're dependent on the willpower, so the less it's going to fall apart. So planning your exercise in ahead over the course of the week, putting it in your diary like you would an appointment or a meeting, those kind of things where you don't have to think, oh, will I go for a walk now? What's the weather like? Maybe I'll call June and see, does she want to go? Or, when you're like that, it kind of might happen, might not happen. But when you plan in advance, you throw it in the diary, you get your gear, okay, Monday I'm swimming, Tuesday I'm walking, Wednesday I'm cycling, Thursday my aerobics class or whatever. You know what you're doing, and decisions are gone, and it just is something that you do. So that's a good thing to think about there. So back to our moderate intensity exercise. So if you have the time and you want to go out for your walk 30 minutes or more 5 days a week, that's fantastic. If you don't, I suggest you look at the vigorous activity and making your exercise a little bit more intense. And that way you can do less of it on less days of the week and still get the same benefits. Okay, so this is what my recommendation would be. If you don't have the time to go out and do your 5 or more days a week, do your vigorous intensity exercise, 25 minutes, 3 days a week. You're getting the same benefits as you would be with the moderate intensity recommendation, but plus include your strength training 2 days a week, because that's so important. And it's one area for fitness that most everybody neglects. And I do a lot of work with work mostly with women, but a lot of work around weight loss. And when you add strength training into their programs, it's just night and day. And it really, really is. It really is fantastic on so many levels, as I'll explain now in a moment. So just to talk a little bit about the vigorous activity and why you're getting so many more benefits from it. So as I said, moderate is kind of your brisk walking. The simplest example is, vigorous would be jogging or running. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit technical here, so forgive me if you're kind of fading before lunch, but just to explain a little bit about, and look, if this doesn't make sense, just let me know. But basically, when you go out for your, and the most, particularly when it comes to weight loss, I find, most women say, oh, when I walk, I walk every evening, I'll go out for an hour and I'll do my walk. And that's great. Any exercise is better than none. But in terms of if you want to get weight loss benefits or you want to enhance the health benefits you're getting, it's not the best form of exercise. And I'll explain why. So basically, when you go out for your walk, after a few minutes, we get into what we call kind of a metabolic homeostasis, where we're everything just kind of increased, your heart rate's increased, your blood flow's increased, and so on, and it kind of steadies out at a steady state over your hour. You do your walk, you stop your walk, you come back, you relax, and everything settles back down to normal, and that's great. So, but your metabolism, when you do more intense exercise, even if you do it for a shorter time, this exercise period is only 12 minutes here, so it's this little column here. So when you do more intense exercise, so it might be jogging from one pole to the next and then walking, or you're doing more intense, it could be a jog, whatever, out on the bike. When it's more intense, your metabolism increases a lot more, in the first instance, but more importantly, the afterburn, as they call it, or the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, a nice mouthful there, and your metabolism stays elevated for a long time after into high intense exercise. Now, this example here is 38 hours. That's probably on the extreme end, particularly after 12 minutes. But you will see with intense exercise, you're going to have metabolism elevated for a lot longer. So if weight loss is your goal and you come back and you want your metabolism to be elevated, you want it to be elevated during exercise as much as it can and after exercise. So you can see how more intense exercise is going to do that for you. You might just put a yes in the chat box if that makes sense, just so I know you're all still with me. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, and if anyone has any questions or wants me to clarify any of that again or repeat it again, let me know, because I just want to make sure that it's making sense to you. Fantastic. Lots of yeses there. Okay, and don't be afraid to say no. I'm not, you know, because you probably won't be alone if you do. So basically, it's going to boost your metabolism and it's going to keep everything working harder and longer when it's more vigorous. Okay, so hopefully that is making sense to you. So just, I suppose, to reinforce then, so, you know, it's very efficient, it takes less time, you're getting more bang for the buck, it's great for weight loss. As I said, I described the impact that it has on metabolism. It keeps working even after you do. So when you come back to the office after your vigorous run at lunchtime today, you're going to be burning calories at a much higher rate than your colleague who didn't go out. And it's great for heart health as well. And just to show you another example, so for, you know, high intensity interval training has got quite popular, where, you know, you're doing kind of high intensity, little break, high intensity, little break. So just to show you, that's similar to the vigorous impact that we talked about. So again, the gray here is your typical 1 hour walk, your nice casual walk. So you're raising metabolism, everything's getting activated, and then it slows down. And this is the end of the exercise. So when you're doing the high intensity, though, you know, you're elevating everything, you kind of recovery, elevating, recovery, elevating, recovery, elevating, recovery. Again, this is only 20 minutes, you can see here, but yet you can see how much higher the benefits are. The metabolism is so much higher for so much longer, all the way as well. So just reinforcing that point there again. So that's why I suppose you can see that I would be recommending, where possible, to shift from moderate, you know, your casual walking, you know, once you have a fitness base, into more vigorous interval intensity type training to get greater benefits if time is a big issue for you. And strength training then is the other part of that equation, and I want to explain the benefits of that to you a little bit as well, because this is the one area that most people don't, as I said earlier, engage in that well. So I want to just talk through that a little bit as well. And just to say, like I said earlier, strength training can be using your own body weight. It doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym. It can be using resistance bands. It can be using, you know, Aldi have weights coming in this Sunday. If any of you are interested in picking up a few weights, you know, it's stuff you can do at home. Majority of my strength training is all done at home, particularly since COVID. And it's very easily done. And I have a home-based strength training program that I developed for myself when my kids were small, when I couldn't get to the gym, and it's one that I could continue to do today as well. So very easily done, you know, 20-30 minutes and you're good to go. So I suppose in terms of benefits, again, it's not an area that's gotten a lot of talk time. It's not really emphasized in the national guidelines, but yet you know, it is there in terms of the research on why we should be doing it. For mental health, it's really interesting because we all think, excuse me, you know, the benefits of going for a walk for your mental health, and it's absolutely fantastic, it is. But strength training, there's a lot of new studies coming out showing that strength training is actually showing greater mental health benefits than cardio, which is interesting. You know, things like decreased symptoms of depression and anxiety, increased energy levels, decreased feelings of fatigue. And I think for women, the women that I work with, there's kind of a sense of empowerment. And I know for myself, there has been, when I, you know, I'm a cardio junkie, and I, you know, all my life would have been into my cardio, and it was only injury that forced me into the gym, and I couldn't run or do whatever I wanted to do. And over the years, then I just found the benefits of it. And I think as a woman, just feeling stronger, feeling that I can lift my own suitcase, I can, you know, I'm not dependent on anybody else to do anything for me, and I can, you know, dig up my garden and I can do whatever I need to do. So having that sense of being a strong woman is nice. And also, I suppose, in terms of injury prevention, I found major benefits. So I'm not as injured when I go out and do my cardio. And also, for any of you who are athletes, I do a lot of triathlons and adventure races and all that kind of fun stuff. Even mountain biking now I've taken up. The benefits I've got from my strength training, I've gone out and without as much cardio base that I would normally have over the winter, but more strength training base, and I've gotten back on the bike or back out running much stronger, much fitter than I would have been if I was just doing cardio. So I've really found the benefits of strength have helped my cardio as well. So anyway, lots of benefits, as you can see there, in terms of strength training. And also, you know, if you're a woman, particularly, but men as well, but after the age of 30, we start to lose muscle mass, and you can see muscle here, and this image here. It's kind of, a lot of women kind of come to me complaining about they call it just their upper arm areas that they're not happy with, because they're losing muscle and they're gaining fat, and you can see that here. And it's not that one turns into the other, and I have samples here just to show you, because quite often there's a lot of confusion around, well, when I do this kind of training, does my muscle turn to fat, or is my fat turning to muscle, or what's happening? But just to show, and you can probably see that there, actually, I don't know if you can see, I'm only on the small little screen, but this is a pound of muscle. This is what it looks like. You can see it's kind of quite striated, and it's quite dense. It's one pound, and this is a pound of fat. So if any of you have lost a pound of fat and were disappointed, that's all you lost. This is what it is. So it's quite wobbly and jiggly, as some of us know, and it's very different. So I guess I'm just showing you both of those to show they're completely different. Fat cells are just kind of there, they hang out, they store a few vitamins. Muscle cells are very, very active. These strands are always kind of interacting, very, very metabolically active. So I suppose my point with this is that they're different, but you want muscle because muscle has a very high metabolic rate. So it's, particularly if weight loss is your goal, it's going to keep your metabolism elevated, but it's going to prevent the loss of muscle mass as we age, which is across the board for men and women. And generally what tends to happen, it's kind of that thing, we age, so we stop being as active, we stop doing things, so we become frailer. And as the years go on, I definitely don't want to be dependent on someone. I want to live a healthy, active life right the way through to my hundreds and beyond. So I want to be independent. So I want to be strong. I want to be, have good balance, good coordination, and that's what strength training gives you, all those things. So there we go. That's the muscle and the fat example I've just shown you. And again, because I know I've used weight loss as an example a few times, but it tends to be a goal of a lot of clients that I work with and a lot of people in general. They say by 2030 that 9 out of 10 Irish people are going to be overweight. So it is an issue for Irish people. But strength training, again, compared to cardio, just 3 times a week for 20 minutes had the greatest effect on belly fat. And this is, a large Harvard study, over 10,000 subjects. So it really is important to incorporate weight training, as it says, with aerobic exercise. So it's that combination that I really would be encouraging people to do. Jenny, the loss is both for men and women, but women, sorry, just saying your question there, but women, because women go through the menopause and there's a lot of hormonal stuff going on, women tend to start to store fat a lot easier. So they're losing the muscle and they're gaining fat. So it tends to be more of an issue physically for women as well. And Simone is just saying, it's sad to notice, but it happens sometimes, how to win laziness when we're feeling that exercise just feels just boring. And it can do, Simone. So it really is about trying to jazz it up. It's about trying to find what you enjoy. It doesn't have to be just running or swimming or cycling, or it can be dancing around the kitchen. It can be anything you enjoy. And there's so many options out there now, and things opening up, thankfully. And there'll be even more options to try various different things. Dance is one thing that a lot of people enjoy. I've taken up bodyboarding during lockdown and I love it, and so much fun, a great buzz in it. And so it's just, I love variety, as you can probably tell from all my examples, but that's what keeps me going. I would find it hard to be doing the same walk every day in, day out, for sure. So I think just, maybe doing some group exercise. Sometimes I love to get out by myself. Sometimes I love the camaraderie of going off for a bike ride with a group. So really it's just about trying out things, just stepping out of your comfort zone and joining a group, there's a lot of beginner groups out there for all kinds of things. So it is just about making that little effort and get out there and try to find people to enjoy it with. And, as I said, some things will work for you and some things won't. Heather's just saying there that she's found something on YouTube, she likes, so kind of a dance fitness. So it is just exploring. There's so many different types of sports out there, and exploring which ones that you're going to enjoy, Simone, is the key there. So thanks for sharing that, Heather. So if anybody else has gotten over that thing of it just feeling boring, and you might just pop your comments in the chat box too, just to give Simona some ideas. So I suppose what I'd be summarizing from all of that really then is that it is a combination of cardio and strength. And, most people do forget about the strength. So it is the one thing that would make the world of a difference to you if you do include it in your workouts as well. So that would be my recommendation. If time's of the issue, vigorous, you get in at lunch, you get in before breakfast even. And that would be my recommendation, exercise in the morning. I think I've seen a little thing saying exercise in the morning before your brain figures out what you're doing or something like that. But it's true, you just get up and go. If I left my exercise till the evening, there'd be so many different draws on me and pulls and reasons not to go, and that it just wouldn't be done. So I just get up early and do it, and it really, really does work. Laura's just saying she's going to Zumba, and such fun, fantastic. We're looking at bringing in the strength training as well. Brilliant, fantastic. So just to summarize, I suppose, really just to remind yourself of the benefits of exercise for your health. And Simona, sometimes looking at your why as well, looking at, and I do this with clients I work with in terms of, what's your reason for wanting to be more active? And obviously there's all the health benefits, but there's the mental health benefits as well. And to be honest, I wouldn't got through the last few years, I've had it tough. It was 4 years really, with various different, my brother passed away and went through a separation. I've had all kinds of things go on. And only from my exercise, I just, I don't know how I would have gotten through. So from a mental health perspective, it's just been a wonder and a fantastic thing for me, which is lovely. My just as I was starting the training for my Ironman triathlon, my brother passed away unexpectedly. And I just thought, oh gosh, I'm never going to be able to, train for this Ironman. And just, was going to give up on it. But I decided to do it and do it in his memory. And it was the best thing I could have done. Because it was a way to kind of process the grief and deal with the grief and all that. So, and we've all been through a tough time the last 2 years, and it's just exercise is the one thing definitely for me that made it all bearable. So yeah, absolutely. For your mental health, so Simone, I suppose what I'd be saying to you is look at your why, what are the reasons, and there's lots of reasons really. And look at the ones that are personal to you and let them be your motivators. So if you're not already doing, the 25 or 30 minutes, build it up. And I would recommend building up your 30 minutes 5 days a week, the moderate, before you jump into vigorous. So but if you're already doing your walks and doing that, you'd have no problem jumping to the higher intensity. And that's really going to bring greater benefits. Sit less, stand more. That's a good one for all of us to be reminded of in the office. I try to stand up when I'm on the phone and just take regular breaks. So I'll try and factor in 5 minutes every hour just to get up off the desk and move around. It's really, really is important. Just end up with back problems and all kind of problems, and just screen eye problems. I find sometimes it can be difficult as well. Definitely adding in the strength 2 days, at least 2 days a week. I do 3 myself, or aim to do 3, and some stretching as well after your exercises, just to help keep everything, the joints flexible and keep everything loose as well. And just as I said earlier, increase the daily activities, look for opportunities to be active. And as I said, it's very freeing when you do that, when you're not kind of driving around and around and around looking for the nearest place. You get less dense in your car as well, trust me. When you just go away wherever there's open spaces and park and walk. Simple things, taking the stairs instead of the lift. It takes a little bit more looking. I don't know, and iconic if you have stairs and lifts or how you have it. But you can put signage, around where the doors are and encourage people to be active and things like that. So there's simple things to put prompts around the place to help with that as well. And there's a good quote. It's from I can't remember the doctor's name now, but he's a really good video. Actually, you can check it out on YouTube. I'll just type it in there. It's called 23 and a half hours. If you pop that into YouTube and physical activity, it's a really good little YouTube thing he has, but talking about the benefits of exercise, and he has a line in the end of it, so can you limit your sitting and sleeping to 23 and a half hours? We're only looking for that half hour to be active. Now, if you do more, absolutely fantastic, but that's really what it boils down to, and what, hopefully that you'll be encouraging everyone to do. So you have stairs everywhere in Iconic. Fantastic, Heather. You just skipping, fantastic, a great way. The music is great, yeah, fun playlist. I have my Spotify and I have my workout music when I'm doing it at home, and just put it on really high and go for it. And my warm-ups when I'm at home to my own is just dancing. So it's great. I probably wouldn't do that in the gym, being honest, but I'd probably do more of the boring treadmill or warm-up or whatever. But yeah, definitely dancing and jumping around the place here as well. And great fun to do with the kids. Do you know what I mean? Even 5 minutes, or on the trampoline, if you have a trampoline, fantastic exercise as well. Yeah. stairs, yeah. And so again, when you do feel you're doing the strength training, you do start to notice the difference. I remember when I first started, I was trying on something in the shop, and I suddenly saw these arms in the mirror. It's like, whoa, where do they come from? So it's really nice and really empowering, as I said earlier, that what you can that you can manage and you can survive, and you can lift anything you need to, such as computers, Heather. So just to say, if any of you want to get some motivation tips, I have a little ebook. I'll just pop the link in there. So just, no, that's not the right link. Hang on. This is the link. Click on the link before the end of the call, though, because obviously it'll be gone at the end of the call. So it's an ebook. I didn't get a chance to set it up, so I'll send out the ebook this afternoon, basically. But just put your contact details in there, and basically that has lots of motivation tips in there for you. I have it's kind of laid out like this, with lots of things, but just what's handy in there is to get you in the habit of planning out your exercise for the day, or for the week, I should say. It's a good way to start what you plan to do, what you actually did, and just a few comments on it. So just to get in the habit of trying that out for a week or two. And then, like I said, all my exercise on a Sunday, I'd sit and plan my exercise for the week ahead. And it goes into my diary like an appointment or meeting would, or appointment with the doctor would, or anything else. And I have the time I'll do it, and what I'm doing, and I know where I'm doing it or who I'm doing it with. So it just becomes part of what I do. As I said, definitely recommend doing it in the morning as well. If any of you are interested in finding out more about home-based strength training, as I said, I have developed an 8-week home-based strength training program that you can follow along to. So I just popped the link for that in the chat box as well. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. And that's just follow along videos. It's all kind of done for you. It's very progressive over the 8 weeks. So it's a good way to get going with it as well. And it ends up, with a really comprehensive full body routine by the end of the 8 weeks, a good workout.